everybody, welcome back to Resident Evil channel. Alright, you guys, today I am doing a review on Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the movie that is currently on Netflix. I know I'm really late for this review, but I just really wanted to talk to you guys about it because I really enjoy the play. I really enjoyed watching the movie and how they brought the play to life. I read this particular play in college, so I was very excited to finally be able to kind of see, even though it wasn't in theaters, kind of see it brought to life, which essentially what plays are meant. They are not meant to be read. They are not that same type of medium. They're supposed to be watched and embraced by the audience. But I think the beautiful part about having plays and a script of a play is the fact that we get to kind of compare and contrast different types of interpretations of that play in various different mediums. Same thing and the theater, they can take the same scripts, pretty much the same thing. So I definitely, hopefully, will one day be able to see this play adapted somewhere on stage. But being able to see this specifically, this being the last movie of Chadwick Boseman, and also, of course, and see Viola Davis's acting was just stupendous and marvelous, and just to always have it is such a privilege. I don't know how else to say it. So I'm excited to do this review. Spoiler alert, I ended up loving this movie. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. It takes away 1 point, which I will get into. It's a bit of a spoiler why I ended up just taking 1 point, but it's mostly more of a personal problem more than actually a critique in the work itself. Also, I just want to give you guys a heads up that I will be reviewing The White Tiger because I read this book in high school and I remember I did like it, so I'm excited to compare it to the movie. Hopefully I'll have that out by this week. Hopefully. Depends on how fast I can finish that book. The last thing I will be reviewing is also a TV show that's also based on a book. I don't even remember what the TV show is called, to be honest, but I'll put it right here. So just be on the lookout for that as well. And if there's any other reviews, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you want me to review. I think that's it. All right, let's get into Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Okay. I think one of the first things that I want to say, emphasize, is the fact that, this is a movie produced by Denzel Washington. We just say Denzel, right? But it's produced by him. He will be producing all of August Wilson's plays. He's already stated that they'll either go to big screen or small screen. So I'm even considering that some of these plays might be turned into either miniseries or TV series. So that should be interesting to see. Honestly, quite frankly, this is the only play of August Wilson that I have read. I didn't even read Fences, but I did watch Fences. And so one thing that I love about the way that, again, I don't know how much actual input he has in this, but I just love the fact that Denzel just pretty much keeps all the movies in one main setting. Yeah, they're, of course, it's a movie, so sometimes you move around, but in Fences, he pretty much just sticks to the house, which is pretty much in the play itself. That's the main point. And the same thing with Ma Rainey's. The main location is the place where where the boys are practicing, and then, of course, when Ma Rainey starts recording the record, those are the two main settings that pretty much stay within the movie, and as well as keeps true to the play, which keeps an air of authenticity to that medium, which I really like. So then I guess let's just talk about a little bit of the acting capability. I mean, Viola Davis, amazing actress. I even read that apparently she was only in the movie for a total, or was speaking or total, was it total? I don't remember. A total of 28 minutes, tops by the way. I think it was 26 and something seconds, but just in case, I'm gonna round it up to 28. I'll correct myself here. But 28 minutes of just being in the movie, and she just steals it away. Just completely just captivates you. It's your main center of focus, and it's pretty much, I love it, it's how they purposely do it in the very first scene. The very first scene, you're put into this tent, Ma Rainey's performing, Levy's in the back, wanting to be part of the main stage, but Ma Rainey is without having it, she's like, I am the main center of focus, and that pretty much sets a tone for the rest of the movie. If you want to know what the movie really is about, it's about kind of the competition. I will also recommend you guys, because after that, you can also, after the play, I ended up watching, it's called Ma Rainey, the Legacy Told or Untold or something. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, a legacy on movie on screen or something like that. Anyways, and it's where Denzel, Viola Davis, a couple of the actors from the movie itself, other actors in the movie, the director, the costume designer, they're all talking about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I'm talking about the history that comes with it, because this is a play that was written in the 80s. I think it was either 70s. I'm pretty sure it's 80s. In the 80s, but it's about the 1920s Chicago. Also, fun fact: this is also a play that August Wilson only is the only play that's not in Pittsburgh, which is his hometown. I don't know, I just found that interesting because again, apparently Denzel's going to be doing all 20 of his plays, so I found that interesting. Um, so anyways, so they talk about it and they go into depth. They talk about, of course, the socioeconomical status, the racial themes, the kind of like the just like the historical significance and how that still historical significance is still reflecting on our time and everything. But for me, I don't know, it's because maybe because Levy reminds me currently of my own situation right now. I'm talking about specifically the ageist theme, which is something that they don't really talk about in, again, in that little series. They go more in depth about like the history and everything, and it's beautiful and you can see all those themes. It's great. But again, this particular thing they didn't touch upon, which was kind of the, like I said, the ageist component. We see Ma Rainey, she's at the pinnacle of her career. You know, she knows, and you can see it in her eyes, you can see in the way she acts and the way she's territorial about herself. This is as good as it's gonna get for her. This is as high in her career as she's going to get. But then Levy, who is this trumpet, also he in the play he plays a trumpet, but it's actually a cornet that he's playing. I just read that and I was like, what? This is the difference, by the way, in case you're wondering, because this is the difference. And I was like, I was a little shook. Anyways, but let's just pretend it's a trumpet. But Levy's playing this trumpet. He's a trumpet player who wants to write music, start his own band, leave Ma Rainey's, create his own sound. He's like, I want to bring a new tone, a new youthfulness into the blues genre, and he's just ready to start, you know. And I think that's kind of where I am personally in my life. I'm like, I'm ready to start. The world's my oyster. I can do whatever the freak I want. And you just feel so much for Levy. You know, he's in a band with all these older gentlemen, and he's like, I got this. The world is mine. Like, you know, he's trying to like push forward his own agenda. He has something to prove. 1,000%, he has something to prove. But Ma Rainey and everyone else is trying to, like, you know, humble him a bit, make him step down, make him acknowledge that there is a race factor. He's like, you will never be, you know, you will never like pass kind of like, you know, you will always have to bow down to the white man, essentially. And he's like, and he tells a story about how his mom was affected by the white man, how his dad was affected, how it was played a significance. He was 8 years old. He's like, I know how affected. He's pretty much just saying, I know how like the white man plays into my reality. Like, I know what it plays, especially in this day and age. Like, I understand my limitations. But he's like, but at the same time, I won't let it get to me. That's pretty much what he's saying. At the end of it, also, that particular speech that he gives about his mom and his dad and just like the history of everything, without giving too much spoiler, is in this play, and it's word for word. Like, Chadwick just does an amazing job of bringing Wilson's words to life. Like, it's astounding. Like, one of the nerdy things that I actually did was I actually followed along as I was, like, you know, watching like to the script and wanted to see like, okay, so how accurate is the movie to the play. It's actually pretty accurate. I think 70% of the play is definitely in there. They alter some things and take things out, of course, but pretty much the dialect is almost the same thing. Again, they alter certain things, they move certain lines, but it's pretty much all there. But Chadwick really, he memorized everything perfectly and like I said, brings his words to life. Like, oh, beautiful, like only he can. Anyway, so as he's trying to like prove something in this, you know, you see the downfall, and they call this, you know, again, in the little Netflix like recap or documentary of the movie itself that they do, they talk about Levy's downfall, and it just breaks my own heart. Levy's downfall, because first of all, again, he's just like he's this young kid who wants to like thrive and grow and experience all that Chicago and the world has to offer him, but he can't. You know, he gets kicked out of Ma Rainey's because Ma Rainey's like, I'm not having you steal any of my thunder. She's upset also because he is flirting with her girlfriend or whatever she considers that girl to be, and on top of that, he's trying to change Ma Rainey. So on top of that, he tries to rearrange, like, you know, give it a different beat, like remix Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and she's like, no, that is my song. Again, that's her rebellion against like her manager and everything else and all the other white people in her life. That's why she purposely doesn't want to rearrange it, but she also pissed at him because she doesn't want to, like, I guess, doesn't want to lose her thunder or her momentum or her own place of where her career is. Because again, Ma Rainey, even though this is the pinnacle of her career, she knows at this point this is as good as it's gonna get. Versus Levy, he's like, this is where I am and I can go up here. And so it's so frustrating to see this like very like beautiful, like fun character. Yes, he's got a big ego, but he's very charismatic, just kind of ruining it himself because he gets kicked out of Ma Rainey's band by towards the end, and then he kills one of the band members. Sorry, big spoiler. He kills one of the band members, and you're just at that moment, you're like, you just ruined everything for yourself. Because it's one thing to get kicked out of the band, right? You could always find a new band. You can always find. On top of that, his songs aren't going to be produced. They also tell him that. But then another thing is to kill somebody. I'm like, one or two things are going to happen. You're going to end up dead or in prison for life. Like, that's the only other way that your life is going to go at this point. Especially again, 1920 Chicago. There's nowhere else you're gonna go at this point, and it's so frustrating because again, when you are again, I'm young, so when you identify with this person, you're like, you just want to embrace life, and you're also saddened by his story because again, he had a dark past, he had a rough childhood, and he came to Chicago with hopes and dreams, and now it's all crumbled apart. And I was so mad. Honestly, I was so mad, and I was like, this is why I hate plays, because honestly, the genre of plays in general, whether it's Streetcar Named Desire or Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, whatever play, there's always kind of like that ending where it's just like it's very dramatic. You know, it's very like, oh, why did Stanley have to rape Blanche? You know, like it's just kind of like, this is just too over the top, you know. And I hate that about plays personally, as in the genre, because they always go to the extreme. Because I love like the slow tempo, the slow, beautiful buildup of plays, and you're just like there in the room, and they're very realistic, and you're like your heart's in your chest. You're like, I can definitely identify with being in a very similar situation. Until they go to like all the way to like 360, and you're just like, that was too far. That was way too far. Like, you guys, kind of like the series You on Netflix, it just went way too far towards the end, in my opinion, which is why I stopped watching after the first season. I never watched after the first season. But anyways, but then when I watched the Netflix little documentary, she was just like, music at this point was all that Levy has. And I'm like, oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. At this point, especially when he does that speech with the guys, like again, he does this very dramatic speech that I tell you, it's in like the end of Act 1 of this book, of the play, and he does this speech where he talks about and how heartbreaking it was to see his father dying to get revenge on what happens to his mother, and just the whole story of how he was affected by, like, again, by the white man. And you're just like, at this point, the only thing he has left, the only thing he grasps onto hope, to reality, to stabilize him is music. So when he ends up killing that bandmate, it was almost inevitable. And you're just like, it makes perfect sense now, because that was his last thing clinging to sanity. Same thing with Blanche. The last reality was like all these lies. It was when Stanley drags her in to reality that you're just kind of like, they're like, ugh. Okay. It's just kind of like, it was the last thing, the last, like, you know, the last string of hope that they all have. So I get it, but I hate it. I mean, so again, it has nothing to do with Wilson's work. The work is beautiful, great, amazing, especially, and again, the way that this movie is brought to life by this director and everyone, and Olivia Davis's interpretation, like everything, again, back to the Netflix recap, everything that she says about her character and everything that she's like wants to convey, she's such an amazing actress that she doesn't even need to explain herself, because literally as she's telling her, like, these are the reasons why I've done this is why I chose to do this type of like dramatic makeup, this is what I wanted to show with this character. I'm like, she did it all on her own, and you could just see that. It's beautifully done, but the only reason I give it a 9 out of 10 again is simply because I just hated what happened to Levy. That's the only reason. Again, it's more of a personal opinion. All right, I think that's it for my Ma Rainey review. Let me know what you guys think, and be on the lookout for more other reviews. All right, thank you guys so much for watching you guys in Nerdy Girl channel. Bye.